Hey, what's up? Doing this hangout on my computer. No real big reason. I like the quality of the camera that I use for this better than my phone, I think. I'm back and forth, but I feel like if the lighting is right, this is a 1080p camera versus my phone. Let me share a link with some folks. I wish this whole process was a little, doesn't matter. I guess I could plan it better, maybe. I mean, it's just hard to plan, though. All right. All right. Let me go to the YouTube channel so I can see the chat. Okay. All right, I'm here. John, 2 days in a row. The mobile stream wasn't working. Oh, John says, unfortunately, yesterday the mobile stream wasn't working. That sucks. On your phone, so you couldn't. Is that what you mean when the mobile stream wasn't working on your phone? Like, what do you mean it wasn't working? What's up, Michael? Like, was it just not? Like, you just couldn't see me? Was it black or what? Yeah. Was waiting. Mike John says was waiting patiently for it to start, but nothing happened. Only the chat was working sporadically. That is messed up, John. I'm sorry. I don't know, but now you can see me apparently. It's who knows? It's crazy. I don't know. YouTube Live is not the most. We've talked about this. I'm not going to spend a ton of time talking about complaining about YouTube Live. Like I should look into Periscope. I don't know, but then you guys have to have Twitter accounts, right? And then you don't get the YouTube notifications. And so I guess I could download the Periscope video and still upload it to YouTube. Anyway, it doesn't matter. How you guys doing? How was the day? How was Tuesday? Oh man, sorry, Stefan. I don't know. Yeah, that sucks having issues with live. You should see the issues I have with live. I can't believe how often I can't even get the thing to turn on. So I'm not surprised. Cool. So a couple things. Yeah, so for the people, I will say, for the people who really like the stuff, I know there's a bunch of people who like the edited stuff that I do, the stuff that's got a little bit more cinematography and editing applied, not just this live stuff. I love doing it. I know not everybody loves it. Jim, I know you prefer these things, but I intend to do both. Like I love both of these formats, and I'm going to continue, hopefully, to keep sprinkling them in. Just recently, like I've just had so much going on. It's hard to find the time to edit. Today was a particularly rough day, so I'm even kind of low energy today. I don't have the energy to get edits done. But that being said, I have promised to keep doing these daily videos, and this is kind of one of the big points I want to make today about just failures and not stopping. But I'll get to that in 1 second. I'll read a couple more comments. Michael says, Tuesday was great. I got to meet up with a buddy of mine and got some great advice from him on managing people and product design. That's awesome. John says, hey, Nathan, thanks for the shout out yesterday. Sorry for not answering. Literally couldn't see or hear you. That sucks. Not your fault. And BoFam is here. He finally caught me live. Check out BoFam. He's been a big follower, and I have his. He's got a really great channel. Stefan says, I think the mix is great between live and recorded, whatever works for you. That's awesome. Thanks for the support. So a couple things I want to talk about. One is I think a lot of people, they have trouble finding stuff to write about, content for these things, whether it's video or whether it's writing another blog post, whatever. One of the things that has always come in handy for me, and I go through these bouts too, where I feel like I've got nothing to talk about. I've got nothing to write about. There's no new ideas up here. And it happens, right? I mean, obviously sleep is a big factor. When you don't get enough sleep, everything looks kind of like dreary and pessimistic. But I also think there's also just tools. There's tools to kind of go out. There's just systems to go out and kind of find some better ideas to talk about. One that I love is just find places where people are asking a lot of questions. Things like Reddit. There is subreddit after subreddit of subreddit of people asking questions, and they're thought-provoking. Whether it's in your domain or not your domain, there's people asking questions. Obviously, there's the obvious ones like Quora and Stack Overflow and some of those like forum sites, but I like Reddit. Reddit's one of my favorites for just going, and there's a ton of like questions out there that no one has even replied to. That are right for you to answer them in the Reddit post, then turn that answer into a blog post, turn that answer into a vlog post. So keep that in mind. But a new favorite of mine is Help a Reporter Out. It's called Haro. You can sign up for this thing. It's totally free. You sign up for it and you get emails, multiple emails all day long. I think there's a morning, afternoon, and nighttime version, and there's different categories, business and art and everything else. And it's reporters asking people questions. So it's just random reporters asking you a question, whether it's like, the other day there was a crazy question. I mean, there's dozens and dozens sometimes of questions in just one email. One of them was like, how do you see the drone industry changing human resources? And it was like, I don't understand how you're merging these two things. I'm sure someone's going to answer that. I'm sure an article is going to get written about this. But it's off the wall stuff, and it's also just not off the wall stuff. It's pretty basic stuff. Like, do you have any advice of people who just had children getting businesses started? But there's some really thought-provoking stuff in there, and you can write to these reporters using the tool. But I'd say the hit rate is kind of low. Like, you're not going to get a ton of your links, mentions of you mentioned, but there's no reason not to repurpose that answer into something else. Like today, so that brings me to the topic of today, a question I answered that who knows, maybe I'm going to be in a magazine because I answered this question, but I might not be. The odds are low, but I might as well mention my answer here and repurpose what I spent some time thinking about. John, is the streaming started? Yeah, it started. So John's still having some trouble. That stinks, dude. Anyway. All right, so I'm still reading some comments. John is still having trouble getting to the mobile stream, which is unfortunate. Anyway, let me still keep going, and I will catch up on some comments after this. But anyway, so I use Haro a lot these days. I pay a lot of attention to Haro. So today's Haro that I answered was kind of interesting. The question was, about the query was seeking help for entrepreneurs to spin failures into successes. What are some of your best tips for what kinds of failures can be turned around into success with concrete actionable steps or lessons? And I wrote back kind of one thing that kind of comes from a lot of experience of failing. There's been quite a lot of failures, like I feel like I've been successful at things, and I've had failures at things, and some of the failures felt like failures at the time, but they seem like successes today, right? With some perspective, I realized how much I learned and what they became. But it's failure and success are they're not always objective. They're very subjective, and they change depending on your perspective on them, especially given sleep and time. But one thing that stands out to me as my biggest regret is when I'm going through these things that feel like failures, that I stop and I close up and I stop trying to do things like write. I stopped doing things like trying to communicate. I remember going through Y Combinator in 2011, and that felt like we were going through a failure. Like we had a little burst of success and growth with the thing that we were creating, and then it just seems like it was too hard, and I didn't like doing it, and it just seems like this was just a pile of shit. And while it was a pile of shit, I didn't feel like documenting anything. I didn't feel like being transparent. I didn't feel like building an audience. I didn't feel like talking to you guys about what was going on. And that's the biggest regret I have, because during that whole process, we were doing things like online games and trying to form this audience of trying to follow this app that I have. But as soon as that thing was done, all those people that were interested in the app just kind of disappeared. And instead of me trying to build an audience who might pay attention to the next thing that I would do, hopefully the next success that I would have, I didn't. So it was all this wasted time. So when I think about failure, one of the things I try to keep in mind is how important it is to kind of keep documenting through it, even if you don't feel like sharing it with the world, right? Don't put it on YouTube. Don't write a blog post about it right now, especially if you're not feeling good. But don't lose sight of things like keeping a record of what you're doing, whether it's a diary or just, just even doing video of some of your tough days, because there might be one day you want to show those clips when you can have perspective on them. But another thing is, like, you don't have to talk about the failures. You can be open about not feeling good or whatever. I mean, that's how you're going to get through it. But I wouldn't give up. I'm still trying to have this dialogue with people, because there's still plenty of things that you can share. Those postmortems about what you're going through during a failure are insanely wide read, because none of us want to repeat what you just failed at. So those failures, if anything, if they turn into any kind of success, at least it's one of those guideposts, like, don't do this. Here's what I just went through. And like, I do this even with minor stuff today, like designs that haven't worked out or mistakes I've made with, hiring. I try to share some of the stuff that maybe I'm not going to share it in the moment when I'm like stressed out about trying to figure it out, but I try to document it as best I can so I can share it later. Hopefully I can get some like success out of it. And that's at least trying to help you guys not repeat what I did. So that's a big deal to me. I feel like I've screwed that up a lot. I always think like, well, I don't want to talk to anybody right now. And I think it's a big mistake, because you can't get the time back. Like all that time I spent at Y Combinator in 2011, and that was like a whole year I could have been doing better audience building, who would have been paying it much more attention and giving me even another boost in the things that I succeeded on later. Because you will always get through this. You will always have some success later. There's always the next thing. So I even go through that today. On my bad days, I can't forget, like, I gotta keep doing this. Even if I don't wanna wallow in what is not going well, at least I keep doing this. So that's it. That's all I wanted to talk about today, because I am a little out of energy. But I will go through some comments and try to catch up here. Is there any questions in here? All right, it sounds like restarting the YouTube app was a good idea. Cool. All right, that's it. That's all I got. You guys got any, want me to chat about anything else? I will keep it short tonight. But again, like I said, like, I didn't have the best day, but I still wanted to show up, because this lesson is still very pertinent to me. Like, I can't forget to try to keep showing up, because like, even when I have a bad day, I don't want to just kind of close this whole thing off, because I think even if just one person gets something out of what I've just talked about here, or there's something I can share, there's some good I can still do, and losing the momentum and losing the building of I don't know, just this. Jason Brown asked a great question. Was draft a failure? I don't think so. Like, draft still goes on today, and like, draft still could go on. Like, I wish I could spend more time on draft, because I still get people emailing me about it and opportunities that I think could be very interesting. Someone just emailed me like last month, and I had to kind of blow it off because I don't have time to pursue it. But it's an interesting thing for draft. But draft is, I think draft could be something. I think draft, maybe it can't be huge, because I think writing software is tough. If you've looked at some of the writing software, I mean, I feel like it's a niche thing. There's so many niche ways people want to write. There's a lot of people making like writing apps that are really good. They seem to be able to do well, but really only be able to kind of pay a small team, which is fine. I don't have any really intentions of becoming a billionaire with the stuff that I make. I just want to make really great stuff for people. So I'm fine if draft is just a thing that pays like one person to me to do something. But I still decided to move on from draft, because I saw Highrise as a much more interesting opportunity to do some really cool stuff for a lot more people. And draft still runs. I mean, I still use it all day long. I don't think there's a day where I don't use it. It's still like insanely useful. There's still improvements I can make to it, but just as is, the thing has been just killer. So it's like, maybe I don't need to touch it, but I do. There's some stuff I'd like to improve. So I don't think draft is a failure. The only thing that's failed is my my push to kind of keep going. Like, I feel like I could have probably hired a contractor. There was enough revenue to probably hire some people, at least one person to kind of do some at least part-time work. And but again, it's an attention thing. I didn't have the attention to even spend on that. I don't know. It's still there. It's still a project that's out there. Doesn't mean I will never return to it. But I keep it running, and I like it. A lot of people were upset when it went down the other day. So that's it. So yeah, that's it. I don't know. And yeah. I could keep blabbing on and on about it, but it's like, will Draft ever become $1 million business? I don't know, probably not, but I'm not doing a lot of smart things with it as I should. Like right now it's free and it just takes like kind of donation, like support, kind of like a Patreon almost kind of thing. Whereas like it should probably be like, and that helped fuel it, but I should probably maybe hold back features and charge to upgrade to some of these features, and maybe it would make a lot of money. So I don't know. I don't think it's a failure at all. It's definitely like taken off, and it's gotten me places like where I am today, and it's gotten me an bigger audience about the stuff I do. So that's just me blabbing about Draft. So curious about side project. Is there any, Jason? Yeah, is there any? Let's not talk. Like, please, is there? I'd love to talk more about side projects and turning them into businesses. Like Draft definitely, I would think represents something. What's up, Matt? I think Draft definitely represents something that a lot of people could do as a side project. I was working on it full time, but it didn't feel like something that had to be full time. I definitely like worked on really focused things, and I could totally imagine myself. And I actually did. There was a project. I actually worked for a bank for like a week doing some contracting, like security and it wasn't security. It was I was doing like speed. It's like performance to help improve a website of theirs. So like there was like projects like that, and I still was able to work on Draft on the side during that. So yeah, I'm a big fan of side projects turning into businesses. Totally doable. I know it's tough, especially when you got like a family and kids and stuff, but it is doable. You just got to be focused on like the core elements that need to get launched, and not spend a lot of time on distractions. Asking where I could send you some questions. So if you guys want to send me questions privately, my email address is just nate.contny, Kontny, @gmail.com. Send me all the questions you guys want to. I'll try to get to all of them. Also, make sure to tell me, because I'm doing this on the vlog, like make sure you tell me if you don't want this like answered on the vlog. And if you don't want to share any of your personal details. And if you do want to answer it on the vlog and you still want some anonymity, mention that. Just say like, hey, just don't mention my name, and I'll hide the details, and but still ask the question. But yeah. All right, guys. Brad, he wishes he could zoom in and out of the text edit area to get the 30,000-foot view of what I'm writing. That's really interesting. That's interesting, Brad. Like, yeah, there's an aspect of that I've wanted to do too in Draft. I think I forgot the name of the guy who writes a book on writing. I'll share it in another vlog post, but it was awesome. And he talks a lot about cadence. And I think there's a blog post on Signal versus Noise by like Jonas that talks a lot about like the cadence in your writing, and just kind of, if you could just like draw lines through your words, like don't even pay attention to the words, but just the length of your sentences, just that is like a really good view of like, if everything is really short, that's not interesting. If everything is really long, that's boring. You need like variety in your writing. So that's an interesting like version of that 30,000-foot view you're talking about. But anyway, that's it for me. I gotta go. Thank you so much for watching tonight, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. So many of you are here every night with me, and I can't tell you how much that means to me. Work is tough for me too, and it's great that I know I can show up, and a lot of you are back, every night to watch this and ask me questions and supporting this. So I know I can barely express the gratitude for it, but I'm grateful. So I hope you guys are having an awesome week, and I will see you again tomorrow. If you hit the thumbs up, share it if you want to. It would mean a lot, but just you guys being here means everything. So see you later, guys. Have a good night. Bye. Now you get to watch me as I try to figure out where the window is where I can turn this thing off. There we go.